Most people think the problem is laziness. But if you're lazy and still ambitious, you already know that's not true. Because lazy people don't feel guilty. They don't overthink. They don't lie awake at night imagining a better version of themselves. They just chill. You're different. You have goals that excite you. You have visions that feel real. You can taste the life you want. And yet, your daily reality doesn't match it. So you end up living in a strange psychological split. Half of you is hungry. The other half is sedated. And that conflict is exactly what keeps you stuck. Let's name it. This is the lazy but ambitious identity. And it's one of the most exhausting identities a human can carry, because it creates a loop. Ambition creates pressure. Pressure creates avoidance. Avoidance creates guilt. Guilt creates exhaustion. And exhaustion creates more avoidance. You don't need a productivity hack. You need an identity resolution. Because the real problem isn't that you don't work hard. The real problem is that you don't trust yourself. Here's what's happening under the hood. Ambition isn't just wanting more. It's wanting a different version of you. And that version of you comes with expectations, discipline, consistency, execution, risk. So every time you sit down to work, it's not just a task, it's a confrontation. A confrontation with the gap between who you are and who you want to be. And that gap hurts. So your brain does what brains do best. It protects you. Not from failure, but from the feeling of failure. Psychologists call this self-handicapping. It's when you unconsciously sabotage your own effort so you have an excuse later. If you don't try fully, you can say, "I could have done it if I wanted." And that sentence is emotional armor. It protects your ego from the scariest possibility, that you try your hardest and it's still not enough. So you keep your effort ambiguous. You kind of work. You plan. You research. You organize. You watch productivity videos. You stay close enough to ambition to feel like you're moving, but far enough from action to avoid judgment. That's not laziness, that's fear management. But there's another layer, and this is where it gets uncomfortable. A lot of lazy but ambitious people aren't actually lazy. They're overstimulated. They live in a world where dopamine is cheap and unlimited. Your phone gives you novelty on demand. Your brain gets rewarded without earning it. So when it's time to do real work, your brain compares it to the internet. Work is slow. Results are delayed. Rewards are uncertain. And your brain goes, "Why would we do that when we can feel something now?" This is dopamine debt. You trained your brain to expect high stimulation with low effort. Then you judge yourself for not enjoying low stimulation with high effort. That's like eating candy all day and then calling yourself weak because broccoli tastes boring. Of course it does. Now here's the identity conflict that keeps you stuck. You don't want to be the kind of person who has to work hard. You want to be naturally driven, naturally disciplined, naturally consistent. Because deep down, you believe, if I have to struggle, it means I'm not the real thing. So you wait. For the vibe, the mood, the motivation, the magical, "I feel ready." And when it doesn't come, you conclude, "See? I'm lazy." But motivation isn't a personality trait. It's a state. And it comes after action, not before it. And this is why your identity is the bottleneck. Right now, you're holding two incompatible stories. Story 1, I'm meant for more. Story 2, I don't do the work. That contradiction creates cognitive dissonance, mental friction. And the brain hates friction, so it resolves it in one of two ways. Option A, kill the ambition. You say, "Whatever, I don't care." You become cynical. You act like nothing matters. Option B, kill the effort. You keep the ambition as fantasy and you protect it by never fully trying. Most people choose option B because fantasy feels better than failure. But fantasy has a cost. It creates silent shame. Because every day you don't act, you don't just lose time, you lose trust. And self-trust is everything. You don't need more willpower. You need proof. Proof that you can do what you say you'll do. And the only way to build proof is with tiny, ugly, consistent actions, not massive transformations, micro commitments. Because your brain doesn't change from inspiration, it changes from evidence. So here's the comeback move for lazy but ambitious people. Stop trying to become an ambitious person and start becoming a reliable person. Ambition is a feeling. Reliability is an identity. Ambition is exciting. Reliability is boring. And boring is what wins. Make a promise so small your brain can't argue with it. 10 minutes, one paragraph, one page, one email, one push-up, one application, then do it. Every day. Not because it changes your life instantly, but because it changes what you believe about yourself. You're not trying to finish the project. You're trying to become the type of person who doesn't abandon themselves. Now let's talk about the word lazy. Lazy is usually a label you learned. From school. From parents. From comparisons. From a world that rewards loud productivity. But if you're ambitious, you're not lazy. You're conflicted. You're scared of wasting your potential, so you freeze. You're scared of proving you don't have potential, so you avoid. That's not laziness. That's an identity fight. And the way out is not intensity. It's alignment. Ask yourself this: what would you do if you were not trying to impress anyone? What would you build if no one could judge you? What would you work on if you knew you could start messy and still win? Because the real you is not lazy. The real you is tired of performing, tired of pretending you're fine, tired of carrying a dream you never pay for. So here's the final question. If your ambition is real, prove it to yourself, quietly. Not with a big announcement. Not with a perfect plan. With one small action today that the lazy you would skip. Because the identity conflict ends not when you decide who you want to be, but when you decide what you will do next. Before you go, hit subscribe. I make stories that upgrade how you think. See you in the next one.